Hey, what's up everybody? Rob Marzullo here, Ram Studio Comics, and today's video I want to show you a little bit into my process. I'm working on a piece here that I'm calling Tectona, just purely made up, maybe a character that'll go into the Blackstone comic, not entirely sure. Just basically wanted to draw a cool female techie type character, so this is what I came up with. But it also occurred to me to address one of my video requests, which was focal points and composition. So I figured I would show you because I had a couple tricky things going on here with composition, and I was able to work through it, and then it made me remember to check my video request list, and of course there was one on there for focal points. So and I can't remember who. I don't really write it down, unfortunately. I get too busy. But all right, so essentially what I got here is I separate things by, like, here's finished pencils. You can see the blue line. She's missing her mouth. I don't know what happened there. But I probably erase that part to work onto some additional parts. I basically keep working up the artwork, and then I'll convert to blue line like that and work on another version of it to keep, forward momentum and refine the work. But at first I just had her kind of holding her hand up doing this wave thing, and it looked a little too boring. It didn't have much, it didn't have any composition, and there was really no direction to the focal point either. So keep in mind, one rule to remember is that people always naturally gravitate towards the face, right? So you spend most of your time there if you have to, if you're struggling, try to get a good face in there. So that's your focal point if there's nothing else, okay? And, ignoring the obvious things that people might stare at if they're, influenced in other ways. But I'm saying the main focal point is the face. So that's what people identify with first, or they should anyways. So we got that, but then as far as composition, it's just a girl standing there. It just didn't have a whole lot to offer, and I didn't plan on drawing in any other characters. So first thing, I added this wall right here to the side, kind of made it look like her hand was leaning against the wall. That gave it a little bit more direction. It was still pretty boring. I started doing some perspective stuff in the background. And then I thought, you know what? I like adding geometric shapes when I can. How about I just add this circular, maybe techie looking window on her ship or whatever she's on. So that gave me a focal point and some composition, and also the ability now to layer it. So let me explain this. If I basically had, if I thought of this in terms of layers, and I try to think of every panel and composition in at least a few layers, I've got my 1, 2, 3 going on. One, bring that to the top there. One right here, her being 2, and then this being 3. So there's my composition of my 1, 2, 3 that I like to use within my panels. I break everything down that way so it's a little bit easier for me to understand. And then as far as focal points, now what I think has happened, we have the strength of the focal point of her face, and I'll make sure to detail that accurately. I've already put in some more detailed line work and shadows, and I'll do that with the hair to kind of frame out her face. And I'll probably even shade out the helmet here to, again, add some framing, to the face shape. Maybe I'll do some heavy, I picture the light sources on the left of the character, so I might do some heavy, I'm just throwing this in real fast to give you the idea. Some heavy shadows to frame the face. So again, it'll draw attention here. Now the other thing that was able to do that was this shape here, and you can see it's just real rough at this point. I think it's right. No. And this is why you should name your layers. But I kind of get moving and going as far as what I'm doing here. There it is. Let's call that background circle. Okay, so yeah, and it's just real rough. I just knew I wanted kind of this bubbly, maybe like an old submarine type looking window, but then futurize it with a bunch of techie lines and things coming off it, maybe some little lights and diodes, who knows, whatever, just stuff to make it look more techie. But it gives me that focal point. So now your immediate area of attention is just kind of encompassed right there. So that's one way to direct your focal point. And another thing that I want to show you is you can also do it with your line weights pretty well. So that's why I kept clicking on this layer. I want to go back to this one now, and I want to show you that, okay, we got our focal point up here, and then say down here it gets a little bit just kind of not a whole lot of, say all our shadows and our cool stuff are up top here, and then down here it gets lost a bit. Well, you still have to balance things out. You don't want any part of your design being overly consuming the rest of it. But the other thing that I want to point out is that line weights, like I see there should be a nice thick line weight on her hip area right here. Let's see, maybe even around the front part of this leg, just to really pop this leg out and make it stand out further from the back leg. So you could do a little bit heavier line right there, nice heavy line on the back leg right here, a little bit heavier line on the bottom of that piece, then thinner, and then maybe have it thicken up towards the bottom. Okay, so that line weight draws your attention a little bit more. And I would probably do that if I picked the areas. I'll just show you. I would do it here. I would make sure to do a nice heavy one right here on the back and bottom of this leg. I would do one here. And I'll end up going around the entire character and adding good line weight and variety of line weight. The other thing that I've been noticing more when studying line weight is that it's good to just kind of randomize it to go thick, thin, all over the place, and you get a very interesting look to your character. And it's amazing how some of the artists that I study go really crazy with it. But it's neat, it really does add this really cool effect to your artwork and to your composition, I think, as well. And definitely helps you to draw your focal points. So line weight's an important one. Sorry, I'm just concentrating here as I figure out where I want these. And see how it just makes the character pop off the page a little bit more? Now up top here, and you can also do it with these little spot shadows. I actually start with these little spot shadows at first. Like maybe there's a little drop shadow. I picture this chest piece having a little bit of thickness to it, so I always start with a little mini drop shadow in there like this, and then it kind of gives me a starting point to look at my shapes. Actually, I'm noticing this is pretty uneven, so I'll fix that, but it should probably round down here and then pop up over here. Well, I'll play with that and get it right. So yeah, let's see, another line weight right there. Yeah, so I usually start with that, and I go around and define the area like that. Now, the head in this circular shape will have enough on its own, but I'll have heavier shadows in here. And let's see. Something like that. Something like that. And like I said, I'll get in here with the hair and I'll do some real heavy. I'm picturing her being more of a brunette anyways. So there's going to be some heavier line work in here. And some heavier shadows. And also I want to really bring those shadows out to frame the face. So all that are just kind of things that go together and assemble to form your composition. Sorry, it sounds like I'm talking about like Transformers or something, but they all come together and form your overall composition of your piece. And let's see, what else? The other thing is, like this piece up front here, I kept adding more and more line work to it. And as I add more line work to the background elements, I'll actually add a thicker line. I want this, remember I named this piece 1, her piece 2, or layer 2, however you look at it, and the background is layer 3. Well, to also reinforce that, I want to make sure that the lines and definition of the stuff on this foreground front wall is real heavy. So as I intensify the line work to her, the shadows to the background, I got to make sure that this wall up front has the most defined lines, maybe even a nice heavy shadow to bring that, not all the way up, but just on the base here, to bring that all the way up. Or I could actually probably add less of a shadow here, but then a darker shadow right here to make that come forward. So yeah, so anyways, that's just the tips I wanted to give you for some composition and focal point type stuff, and hopefully that's helps you out. Okay, so I'll go ahead and time lapse this next part and see what we come up with. Alright, so that'll about wrap it up, and I'll show you the finished piece here in a second. So I appreciate you tuning in and watching. Hopefully this has helped you out in a way or two. If it has, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, I appreciate you tuning in. More on the way real soon. Keep drawing, keep having fun.